We will start with 10 times of Om Chanti. Vanamali Devi Devam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Om Shri Krishnaya Paramatmane Namaha. Om Shri Parthasarade Namaha. I bow to Lord Krishna, the preceptor of the universe. I bow to all the great gurus of our lineage and my obeisance to all the noble souls who have assembled here this evening. Hari Om. So today we come to the last talk on a series of 3 talks, and it is on Krishna. Hinduism itself is a very misunderstood religion, as I told you in the very first talk, and perhaps of all the gods in the Hindu pantheon, Krishna is the most misunderstood. So Krishna is actually a very difficult personality to understand. When we go into his character, you will understand how it is almost impossible for us in this age to understand a character like him. And Now let us see, the question here somebody asked was about the historicity of Krishna. Now the fact is that when the Westerners first came to India, they were shocked to find that if what was written in our Puranas are the great books which yesterday we spoke about, of Hinduism, and if what was said in the Puranas was true, then India had a glorious civilization at a time when the Westerners were running around as barbarians and fighting and hunting. This was something they could not bear and they could not believe. Or they did not want to believe, perhaps. And so, then also they realized that if they wanted to impose their culture, their religion on this land, the only method was to cast scorn on the great gods of Hinduism, the two great gods, Rama and Krishna, the incarnations, the great incarnations. They are like Christ, for instance. Christ for us is an incarnation of God, just as much as Krishna and Rama. And nobody denies the historicity of Christ. But the Western, with vested interest, they took great pains to try and deny the historicity of these two great avatars. And they said India has history in any case. There were no history books. We didn't have any recorded history. And so how could we know about these things? But the fact is that Western history was written by people who came long after the events took place. The two great epics of India, as I told you yesterday, the Ramayana, which gives you the story of Rama, and the Mahabharata, in which we find the great personage called Krishna. These two were written by contemporaries of the persons that they were writing about. Valmiki was a contemporary of Rama, and he wrote what he saw and in front of his eyes. So there's no question of him making any such mistakes. Similarly, Vyasa, the author of the Mahabharata, was a contemporary of Krishna. And he also wrote from first-hand experience of the life of that great avatar. Not only this, more proof is to be found. Both Valmiki was one of the first astrologers, not only of India but of the world. And he has given definite planetary conjunctions for the birth of Rama and many other episodes in his life. Just as Vyasa has given very exact planetary conjunctions of the births of this great avatar. And the fact is that today, for us, we are fortunate because with modern technology, if you feed these facts into a certain software, apparently the exact dates can be found. So this religion is something which has lasted for millennia, not just thousands of years, but millennia. So same planetary disposition may come again and again. So the only way we can find out is by this modern technology which gives us the exact dates. Moreover, again, all the great festivals in India are all about some episode in the life of Rama or Krishna. Yet the Westerners with their vested interests were determined to see that these incarnations were not incarnations at all, but that they were myths created by the febrile brains of Valmiki and Vyasa. And the unfortunate part of the whole affair was that the Indians themselves who they were mesmerized by their Western conquerors. And they were very anxious to please them. And they thought to themselves that whatever they said was correct. And instead of going to the source of our own Puranas, they copied and aped what the Westerners told them. So that our Indian historians also said the same thing. Mythical characters. Of course, not only this, one of the greatest, what should I say, one of the greatest terrible thing which they did to Hinduism was to deny the very roots of our culture, which I told you the first day, the Vedic culture. The Vedas are the foundation of Hinduism. And they strove to deny that the Vedas were inborn in our own land, but brought out something called the Aryan Invasion, which again is a myth created by them. It is not, this Aryan invasion, and again, as I said, the Indian historians ate this, just followed what they were saying without going into the source of the matter. And which is the source? The Vedas themselves. If one goes into the Vedas, you can find out where the Aryan culture came from. And the Vedas at no time do they even mention any such thing as an Aryan invasion or exodus from across Siberia and the Asian steppes into India. Had it been true, can such a great fact be totally disregarded by them? So obviously it is a blatant untruth. One meant to try and vilify our own culture so that we ourselves our children learned to despise the great gods of our religion. That is a pitiable state. Because the way the British fought this, tried to conquer the land was not through overt, trying to conquer by force. So to some extent they did that, but it was a very subtle type of conquest. You can fight with an enemy who tries to fight with you, but how to fight an enemy which cuts under your beliefs, your deep-set beliefs, and tries to make you believe that their culture is far superior to that, our culture, which has existed for centuries. Maybe it's a fact that they were not capable of understanding this ancient culture. We can give them the thing of the doubt, but the fact is that they did this with the help and the connivance of the Indian elite, who were all educated in Oxford and Cambridge and all the great schools and universities of England. So then they brought out a kind of something called universal radicalism, which tried to water down the actual precepts and the great truths of Hinduism. So as I said, luckily for us today, there's a great interest has been created in these avatars. And all the sites, there are 22 places through the subcontinent of India where Rama has gone from his when he went on his journey from Ayodhya right to Sri Lanka. And these are still there. The bridge he built across the river, across the sea, was still there. And what about Krishna? Luckily for us again, today modern, they're very interested in finding out these things. And they have discovered and unearthed the ancient city of Dwarka, which was actually, as Krishna foretold, that it was an island city created by him as a kind of natural fortress. It was an island. And he foretold that this would go under the sea when he left his body. And it had gone under the sea. But today divers, various from lands as well as from India itself, they have found out the existence of an amazing, marvelous city right off the coast of Dwarka. Sorry, my throat is bad. Which shows all the many facets. That was a city exactly as described by Vyasa in the Mahabharata, with fortresses and bastions and gardens and palaces and so on, which has been beautifully described in the Mahabharata. And the Mahabharata also describes Arjuna himself. He was a witness to the disappearance of Dwarka under the sea. It happened before his very eyes, and the Mahabharata describes it. Obviously something like a tsunami or something, which just came and swept off one by one the palaces, the great roads, and totally went under the sea. This was it was an eyewitness account given by Arjuna in the Mahabharata. So all these prove to us, of course, Indians never bothered to refute all the findings that these are mythical characters, because for us it matters very little whether Krishna was a real character who lived, or he was a mythical character. What's important to us is what he taught us, what he gave to us. The knowledge and the way of life that he has given to us, that is most important, and that can never be taken away by anyone. So to us, for instance, if somebody today proves that Christ did not exist, where is Christianity? But if today somebody can prove conclusively, they can't anyway, that Rama and Krishna did not exist, Hinduism will continue to exist. Because it does not depend on one incarnation or one avatar or one great soul for its sustenance. It is sustained by the great verities of life, Satyam, Dharma and Ahimsa, truth, the law of righteousness and non-violence. These are the things which sustain it, and that will exist even if anyone comes and tries to prove that these avatars or incarnations did not exist. But I mentioned this now because the question was raised, and whether he was a historic character, and most definitely he was a historic character, one who had trod on the holy land of Bharat, of India, one of those giants who had trod that holy land. And many, many such have come and are still coming on that land, as your own gurus are proof of this fact, that the sand in soil of India keeps on bringing forth these great enlightened souls, one after the other. So now to come back to the actual this thing. I think I won't be able to talk. Okay. So of Krishna. Krishna is one of those, I said, most controversial characters. He cannot be understood by any human being today, because our method of judgment is totally different. But those sages of that past, they obviously understood what he was, because they claimed that he was the Purna Avatar, the highest of incarnations. Maybe you can say the only begotten Son, if you like to call it, or the best begotten Son. So the fact is that he was, even though he was such a controversial character, he still is. They understood, and that's why they called him the Purnavatar. Not even Rama. Rama was not called the Purnavatar. Though Rama is very easy for us to understand. Why? Because Rama complies with all our ideas of middle class morality. He knows all about it. We know that, how he should, how a good human being should act, how he should live, he complied with all that. Not so Krishna. Everything was diametrically opposite to what we believe to be good and true and correct. And this amazing facet of his is something which makes him not only most difficult, inexplicable, but the most fascinating. You cannot help, he has a lure about, that's why in all these, so many centuries have passed, and yet his name shines like a beacon. Even in America, just the Hare Krishna movement was started by a man in his 90s who came without a penny to this land, and yet his only mantra was Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, and he converted a huge amount of population to believe in this Krishna. So you can imagine the power of this God. A superman, he was a superman. God himself really has entered into this, but he was a superman, and one which is, as I said, very, very difficult to understand. Because yesterday we discussed how this world is a world of dualities. Dualities. Nothing can exist, evil, good cannot exist without evil. Happiness cannot exist without unhappiness. Day cannot exist without night. So these are the dualities which are a part of our life. And normally, most of the great saints, the great avatars, the great teachers of all religions, whether it was Mahavira or Buddha or Christ or whoever, or Rama, they always asked us to choose. Choose the good as against the bad. Choose happiness as against unhappiness. Choose the better of these two dualities. You understand? So, and also they always talked about a heaven or a state of liberation which is beyond this life. You cannot find it in this life, only in an afterlife. But who has ever come back from an afterlife and told you that this is how it is? Krishna is the only one, he said, one who said, if, in the Bhagavad Gita he said, if heaven has to be, liberation has to be achieved, it should be achieved here and now in this very earth. Otherwise, what is it of use to you, he said. This very life is meant for you. He denied nothing in life. That was an amazing quality which we cannot really fully accept. He denied nothing. We can always admire a saint or a guru who tells us, be good, be kind, be compassionate, be nice, be non-violent. All these are, something which we inherently think is right. But Krishna said nothing of the sort. He said, be yourself, accept life, embrace life as it is. There is nothing which you can be termed as good or bad. It is only your mind which makes it so. These rules of morality which exist in one age have vanished forever in another age. Just imagine in this country itself, about even 50 years ago maybe. I mean, it would be horrifying to find that a man and a woman are living together without marriage. Today it's accepted. If the woman, if they don't live together before marriage, it's very strange. So just think, what a dramatic opposite there is in our ideas of morality. So moral rules keep changing. They really have no great fixity except in the mind of that society, of that present society. So Krishna arose above all these moral rules when 3,000, 5,000 years ago, he was a free man. If you can call anyone totally free, it was he alone. Because he, as I told you, he embraced life in all its beauty, in all its ugliness. What happens is, if you can say, he was the only one who was totally choiceless. If there is such a word, he was choiceless. We're constantly choosing. We choose, this is better, this is sweet is good, bitter is bad. Good is good, bad is bad. Evil is bad, goodness is good. Truth is good, untruth is bad. Lies are bad. All this, we have been fed on this from the time we are born. But what is this difference? It is all made in our minds. Actually, they are, as I told you yesterday, they are counter correlates. One cannot exist without the other. You can have no happiness without unhappiness. You can have no joy without sorrow. You can have no day without night. These are counter correlates. They are wedded to each other. They just cannot exist by themselves. How can we ever know happiness if we did not know unhappiness? How can a person who lives in the sun does not know the meaning of light? For the simple reason that he has never known darkness. You understand? So, the world of dualities is meant for us actually for our enjoyment. Because only when we know the other side, in India, you know, after we give at the end of a meal, after we are given the sweet, we are given a little bit of sour pickle to put on our plate. Because then the sweet becomes sweeter. So you see, these are all they're intermingled. They're totally related to each other. You cannot separate them. You cannot, and as I said, all the great leaders, all our great saints, all our great avatars who always extol one and brought down the other. And that makes us happy. All the devotees are so happy because that is how it should be. We should do only good. Now don't go around saying that Mataji said we should do bad, and that's not what I'm saying. What I meant was that Krishna did not deny anything. Did not deny anything in life. His whole life is that. As a child, he was, what was he? He ran around stealing butter from all the gopis. Huh? So, I mean, if our child did that, we'd smack them tight and hard and proper. But in him, it is such a lovable trait because he actually, there's esoteric reasons why he did that. But again, he was born in a dungeon at midnight. His parents again were in chains and born in the dungeon, he was told, he told them, he actually revealed his divinity to them, and his father was asked to take him to the little village, pastoral village of Gokulam, where he was left, and the father had to come back. So he, actually speaking, throughout his life there's a lot of difficulties, lot of problems, but never once do you find him saying, "Oh, what a terrible thing." In the Ramayana you find it. Rama behaves like a human being very often. In Krishna, never at any time. He was always the victor and never the victim. In any situation. Whether it was in the small little village, the pastoral village of Gokulam, where he ran around playing with the gopis and the gopalas and the cows. He was a cowherd with a full swing. The cowherd is a true cowherd. And chases. He was a lover, he was the greatest of all lovers, not to one or two or three women, but thousands of women. And yet he was unattached. That is the amazing quality of Lord Krishna, that he did everything which appears to our ordinary common eyes as something wrong. And yet, he rose above that, like his example of the lotus leaf in the water, he says. That is the life of the true yogi, is like the lotus leaf. The lotus comes out from the muck and dirt and filth of the pond. Yet it comes out and reveals its face to the sun of glory above it. So also the human being, even though we come from the very dregs of life, our animal instincts may pull us down, yet it is capable, we are capable of coming out of this murky waters which we have fallen into or born into, and lift our faces to the light of the glorious sun above. So this is his life. He lived like that, totally unattached. Yet he was living in the world, mind you. He never ran away from the world and took up sannyas or took up some. In fact, that is one of his great advice to his friend Arjuna on the battlefield. Even on the battlefield, if he had to fight, who can know the meaning of non-violence? Who has not had some violence in his life? It's only when you know the opposite that you can understand the other side of the coin. Nobody can preach non-violence without knowing what violence is. That's why I told you yesterday, in the name of the Prince of Peace, the most violent, bloodiest wars in the history of Christendom were fought, the Crusades. Soon after his preaching and his life. So just imagine. Similarly, Gandhiji himself, Gandhi in our own country, he was preaching non-violence all the time. But in his wake, in India, which has never been had civil warfare, civil trouble like that. In his wake, what a terrible holocaust of bloodshed was shed after that. So it is not enough to keep our own hands clean and say, I will not hurt a fly. When you see all this violence going on in this world, we have to learn to go beyond these two. First of all, you have to accept them all without choice, without making a constant choice. Because when we keep making a choice, what happens is, that which we are, desiring, that which we are running after eludes us, and that which we are shunning pursues us. So this is how our life is torn in two, constantly at war, inside also, like the battlefield on which he gave his advice. That is why he chose the battlefield to give his glorious advice of the Bhagavad Gita to his friend. Because the battlefield is a kind of an allegorical representation of the life of the human being, both outside and inside. Outside we have to fight many wars on many levels, on many rounds. Inside also we are constantly being dragged by negative forces on one, thoughts on one side, positive thoughts on one side, all the time at a dilemma how I should act, how I should go in this constant battle inside. So that's why he chose the battlefield, and that's why he refused to fight, mind you, but he said he will be the charioteer of Arjuna, his friend. He will be the charioteer. And another strange aspect of this, you will find that he had given, I don't know whether you're familiar with the Mahabharata war, but they were cousins, warring cousins. And he had given his own crack regiment, of the Yadavas, to the opposite side. Can you imagine? He is fighting here with the Pandavas. Instead of keeping those people with him, he gives them that crack regiment called the Narayana Sena. He gives it over, and in that Narayana Sena, many of his own sons were there. That's another strange aspect. Many of his sons were there, and he gave it over to the enemy to fight against him. And very often Arjuna would refrain from going, shooting arrows because he knew they were Krishna's sons. But Krishna drove towards them and said, come on, fight. What are you here for? When you fight, you must fight. You must not take sides and say, oh, I will not do this. You have also agreed to join this battle, fully knowing the consequences. Now you have to accept it and fight to the best of your ability. That's all you're asked to do. In our life also, even though we are confronted with warring forces against us, what we have to do, can only fight to the extent of our ability. That's all we are asked for. Nobody, God does not judge. He does not think that only victory is the correct side of life. If you're victorious, the victorious side is right. How can it be? Very often those who have been defeated are in the right also. So it's not, that's why he tells Arjuna, victory or defeat, win or lose, you have to fight without discriminating between the two. Today you might be victorious, tomorrow you might be defeated. It doesn't matter. The question is, have you done your best? That is all that is asked from you, and that is all that you can do, really speaking. So, because as I said, this choicelessness of his is an amazing quality of his, which we really cannot even dream of. We cannot even. He lived far ahead of his times. Maybe in the future, a class of human beings will be there who can live such a choiceless life, who can accept life and live happily. Because that's the only way we can live happily. The moment we choose, we're gone. Because we hope for that choice of ours. That choice should come to us. And if it doesn't come, we are unhappy. And how often does it come? 50-50 chance. Because everything is 50-50. So it might come, it might not come. So you might become unhappy, you might become happy. And so there's no question of perfect or permanent happiness as long as you keep making choices in life. So as I said, in this case, in Lord Krishna's case, in everything, in the gory battlefield or in the midst of seductive beauties, or with his parents, or playing with his gopalas and the cows, everything he did with great joy and great abandon, enjoying everything that he did, not thinking, oh my God, do I have to go through this? It's my duty, so let me do it. No, no, no. To him, life was a delight, a joy, whatever he did. So, and yet the fact is that he was totally detached from it. Because if he didn't get what he wanted, he couldn't care less. And he got what he got it, he didn't jump up and down with joy. He accepted it. He was not elated with success, not depressed with, what should I say, defeat. This is that amazing quality about him. That is why he is known as a Nitya Brahmachari, one who is a total celibate. He is been extolled in our Puranas as a total celibate. And yet the Puranas have told us that he had a total number of 16,008 wives. Yeah. Not 1 and 2. Even with one wife, a man finds it very difficult to keep her happy. Imagine, it is said that he kept all his 16,008 wives in a state of bliss. So what sort of a character who could do that? And yet he is described as a total celibate. These are things which are so contradictory, which we find so difficult to understand. Because, why was it said like that? Because that deep attachment to that particular person, not that he didn't love, he loved everybody. Not that he wasn't compassionate, he was very compassionate, yet he could kill his own son if that was what was asked of him in that war. He was fighting a war. Not that he wasn't kindness, very kind. Yet if he had to be unkind and give a person a slap on the face, he would do it. Either of these were, he just lived life for every minute as it came. No calculations, no depression about what had passed and what he should have not have done. And no sort of eager expectation from what is going to come in the future. He just lived like that. Whatever came, he did too. With ecstasy, with abandon. His whole life, that's why his whole life is known as Krishna Leela. Leela means play. It is a play of God in this universe. God has taken on a special body, a human body, in order to show how the human being can live in delight in this world which we think of as really such a suffering and a vale of tears. So, in order if you could understand Krishna, you have to understand the essence of God. Now, what do we think? When we think of God, yesterday we discussed this. All Semitic religions think of God as a father figure who sits up in the heaven and is, kind and compassionate and wonderful and good and omnipresent and omnipotent and all those great superlatives which we can think of. That is God. But how do they try to explain all the other aspects of life? Evil and sorrow and murder and hurricanes and holocausts, and how do they explain? Why, of course, you have to depend on the poor devil. Indeed, he is a poor devil, because on his unhappy head is put all the bad, negative things of life. That is the only way they can judge how evil can exist with a God who is all compassionate, all kind, and all wonderful and all loving. So as I told you yesterday, Hinduism did not fall into this particular bait, did not bite this particular. They said that if God is good, then God has to be evil also. Because good and evil exist. And where else could evil come but from God? Everything comes from God. And He is omnipotent. And if He is omnipotent, why can He not control evil if there is? So obviously He doesn't want to control it. Both comes from Him. And both have to be accepted by life as it is. It is all meant, these dualities are really meant for us to have a greater pleasure of life. Because only when we have dualities do get a extra kick out of life, as it were. When we eat too much of sweets, we are fed up. Sweet is supposed to be good and nice, but just imagine if somebody stuffed you with about 100 ice creams. By about the 5th or 10th, you would be bringing up the whole thing. So, when does good turn into bad? Where is that line which separates good from bad? That separates tasty from, noxious. You can think of anything that in life that you can think of, whatever it is, however pleasurable it is. There is a limit to which that humankind can. And after that, it turns into bad. Whatever you can think of, just ruminate, whatever you can think of, whether it is food or comfort or houses. How many houses can you live in? And after that, after a certain thing, every house you build is a burden on you. How many wives can you have except for Krishna? How many can you They become a burden on you. The first one maybe was rather nice, but sometimes even the first one turns out to be not as nice as we thought it was. But you certainly will not enjoy the same thing again and again and again. Whatever pleasure you can have from life, there is a point when it changes into pain. This is how the dualities exist in life. And as long as we keep on making choices, which we do every minute of our lives, this is bad, this is good, this I like, this I don't like, this is beautiful, this is ugly. And whatever is that so-called positive aspect we like, we should wear too. The other one we should shun, we should go away from. Dirt, for instance. Here you never find not a spot of dirt or this thing anywhere. It's so wonderful, really speaking. No dust, no dirt, nothing at all. Even when your garbage is tied up neatly in little bags, and if possible, little ribbon is put on it before you dump it. In India, just the opposite. You walk into a street, there's dirt here, there's filth here, somebody's defecating here, the cows are also, using that. These things assail you, and for a very highly, refined nose system and all that, as in the West, they get shocked. That's what we call a cultural shock. So, yeah, there is a, we just can't take, we've been brainwashed or brought up with the thing that this demarcation is there, good and bad. Some things are on this side of the border, other things on this side of the border. And as I said, life teaches you that there is no such, if there is a demarcation, it fades into nothingness after a certain point. And who is to say when that point will be? Because that point will be there. No goodness can exist without badness. So the life of Krishna is an amazing, amazing example how a person can live without any sort of choice, without any sort of bias towards one thing rather than the other thing. There is no conflict in him over anything. As I said, even if he is in the midst of a gory battlefield, or in the midst of seductive beauties, or in the midst of a parliament of this thing which he is trying to passing judgments, or helping people, or something like that. Whatever he was in, he did it with joy and happiness and wonder, and never of fear or anger. Or so sometimes, of course, some feigned anger you will find, but in the end it was nothing. It was just because he had to play that particular role. In his case, it is a role playing. His whole life is a kind of a role playing. He was a model son, the model not only to his own parents but to his foster parents. He was a model brother. He was a model friend to the Gopalas. He was a model lover to the gopis. He was a model husband to all his wives. He was a model enemy to his to all his enemies. Everything, because all these, and again and again, this life of which we judge constantly. He had no judgment, and God does not judge. The universe does not judge. It's a human being who judges others. We're constantly judging, but the universe does not judge. It just gives, it just loves. The sun shines, the rains fall, the rivers flow, the flowers bloom, the fruits fructify. And they don't reserve this only for the good. No, supposing the sun says, oh, today I'm not going to shine on this terrible set of people over there. So, universe gives its love, its fullness, its abundance to everything, to everybody, without judgment. This is how God is, and this was how Krishna was. And that is why he is known as the Purnavatar, the supreme incarnation of God. There is never has been, perhaps there will be in future, we cannot say, but even though such a long distance of time has passed, yet even India has not brought out a character like his. Many other saints have come, but as I said, all the saints both in India as well as outside, they all extol us to one side of life. They all tell us that this side is better and that side is bad. And eventual emancipation can only be after death. There's only one person, one God, one avatar in the whole of Indian, in the annals of Indian history also, who said everything is right, everything is good. There is nothing which the human mind can say is bad, because everything has a purpose in life. God creates everything and it is for the best. And unless you can accept that, you will continue to be unhappy. So as I said, this is glorious, even at the end of his life, when he realized that his own people, absolute non-attachment you see in him, when he realized that his own people were going to be a cause for pain and sorrow in the world, because they'd become so haughty, they thought themselves so great that they could do anything. He decided this is a time that we should all be killed. They should all die because they cannot live anymore because they are. And he himself sets forth a series of events which eventually ends in the annihilation of not only his tribe but the very city he had built. He said, after I am gone, this city will no longer exist. It will go under. So you can imagine the amount of detachment of this. I mean, we cannot even call him human. He's, something as close to God as a human being can ever get. And at the final moment, he himself sits in a certain place and allows this boy to shoot him with his arrow. And that is he himself, because he is also part of his clan. So he also has to leave this body. So at that final moment, he also allows himself and he dissolves into the elements from which he had come. So as I said, born in a dungeon and brought up in a small little cowherd village. Yet he went to the Mathura and everyone was quite happy to proclaim him as king. He refused to accept the crown. He said his grandfather should be the one who should have the crown. And he never accepted this thing of the external form of kingship. Though he did, he was one who wielded such power in India at that time that he really created kings and brought them down. And yet he himself refused all such glory for himself, such a name for himself. So this is the life of Krishna. You can go on forever. He is all the great misunderstood aspects of his life have a deep meaning in them, and only those who can understand these meanings can understand how his life was a really wondrous life. And that's why his name even today, after thousands of years, imagine a person who lived thousands of years ago, still has such power and a hold over the human mind. So this is a very small, let's say, about this thing on Krishna. Now if you want, we can have some questions.
You mentioned at the beginning the Aryan people. Now, the Aryan people, were they always living in India? Is everybody in India an Aryan, or?
No, the Westerners call this the Aryan Invasion.
Yes.
Actually, as far as we are concerned, there was no Aryan invasion.
So Aryans?
Yeah, the Vedic age, the Vedic rishis were sons of the soil.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that who the Aryans were?
Not. I mean, this was something again brought out to form a sort of schism in the land by dividing north into Aryans and south into Dravidians.
Oh.
Actually, what we find is that there is a unbroken line in the history from the Harappan and Mohenjo-daro civilization right up to the present one. You find in the Mohenjo-daro seal the same Vedic symbols. We never call this whole thing as an Aryan culture. It's a Vedic culture, the culture of the Vedas. That is what our culture is based on.
So Aryan was kind of an arbitrary name
Yes.
given by the
Yes,
European.
yes. In fact, it was Max Muller who brought out this theory of the Aryan invasion. Though at the end of his life, he also disclaimed it. But by that time, the Indian historians had taken it up. Foolishly enough.
Who was it?
Yeah. Yes.
You said that through modern technological means, dating could be done now. Do we know then what the dates of Krishna were?
The what?
Birth and death.
Yes.
What are the dates?
Yes, the dates. It was I'm sorry, I'm very poor at dates. If you try to ask me what date today is, that's I don't remember it. But I think about 5,000 years ago. Yeah.
How long did you live?
He lived for over the Mahabharata war itself, he was supposed to be 125 years old. So I think after that he lived for another 20 or 30 years. Yeah. Okay.
I want to, I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. What if he destroyed the city and everything in it? Then who was left to tell the tale?
Vyasa is the one who told the tale, and Arjuna is the one who saw it.
So Arjuna and Vyasa, they survived.
Vyasa is the one who wrote the whole of the Mahabharata. Arjuna actually saw this city falling. But the Mahabharata was written by Vyasa. So he's the one who told the tale. Yeah.
They say here Babaji is the reincarnation of Krishna. What do you have to say about that?
About the?
Babaji
Yeah.
the reincarnation of
Yeah.
Krishna.
Yeah.
What do you have to say about that?
I mean, I don't care if he was or not. It makes no difference to me whether he is a great soul in himself, whether he is. You know, this is our human method. We want to attach. Now, I will say, oh, I belong to one of the noble southern families. Or some great soul. We like to attach. If a person is great, he's great in himself. Why do you want to attach his name to someone else? I doubt very much whether Krishna took an avatar again. There is no one comparable to him, I don't think. But it's our desire to make Babaji himself is a unique personality. There's no need to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Would you mind sharing with us your favorite verse from the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit?
Okay. Ananya chintayanto mam ye jana padyupasade tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. This is what Krishna says to Arjuna, that he who thinks of me constantly with undeviating love, I myself will personally see to all his needs, whether physical, material or spiritual. Ananya chintayanto mam. Then again, so many beautiful verses in the Gita. Kaunteya pradijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. O Arjuna, son of Kunti, Arjuna, I swear to you, my devotee will never fall. Then sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva pavebhyo moksheshyami machaya. O Arjuna, at the end of the whole thing, after telling him all the dharmas, all his karmas and how he should do everything, at the end he says, "Oh Arjuna, leave everything to me. Why are you worrying about it?" But he could not tell it to Arjuna in the beginning, because at that time Arjuna would not have understood what he said. It is said only at the very last. And there he says, "Leave everything to me. I will carry you. I will look after you. Why are you worried?" Yeah?
Hi, my name is Karuna. I missed yesterday, I believe you were talking about Lord Shiva. Can I ask a question related to Shiva and Krishna, please?
Yeah.
I would like to know is, I saw one of the, I read about the episodes where Lord Shiva had come to see Yashoda Maiya during the time when Krishna was born, to like give me the darshan of Krishna, you know. And at the moment where Krishna is as a child, sees Lord Shiva, and he's like, "I'm so glad that I get to see you." And the same thing Shiva says is like, "I'm so glad that you allowed me to see you." So my question is like, you know, I personally am a Brahmin, you know, but I've been raised learning so much about Lord Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh, and all this. But I want to understand is like, in the time Shiva is the destroyer, the god of, you know, it's like the end. It's like, this is where the beginning and the end happens. And with Krishna, he's the preserver. So I would like to know is like, even though Krishna is the supreme Godhead, and also Shiva is what we meditate on, but I know we can't compare these two. But in this time of, you know, like need, when we want to chant, like say Om Namah Shivaya is one, and then Hare Krishna Hare Ram is one. What I'd like to know is like, does it make a difference if you follow one path, or like how, you know, because judgment, again, we don't want to have a favorite god or have a favorite, you know, a chant to say, but in the sense of like trying to understand, they are one, right? They are equal. But at the same time, then who empowers who? You know, I would like to know that. Or
When it's a question of the supreme, there's no empowering of something else.
yeah.
Empowerment comes when they're slightly less than that, in the realm of duality. In the supreme, what empowerment is there? They're both equal. They're both, you know, the full embodiments of that Brahman. So the question of empowerment does not really. Whatever you like to meditate on, which is closest to your heart. Yesterday we discussed that fully, actually, how the various gods, why the various gods of Hinduism. Because whatever which is most precious to you, that is what you should choose, that is what you should, but not like hopping, like people now, you have guru hopping, God hopping. That's not really very correct, because eventually you will be stranded in the mid-air, as it were. Neither. It's always better to stick to one person, even though I do say don't make choices, but this is a choice, not really a choice which brings difficulty on you. The choice is something which actually helps you in your spiritual path. Because then, you know, it said, a story goes about this Gajendra Moksham, you must be knowing the story of Gajendra Moksham. The elephant is, you know, putting his, and everyone, he gives one in his last days, and he's putting a flower after flower, and he's meditating on the Supreme. And each of the gods say, no, I don't know, it's not me, not me. But it is said that, so we don't want to be in that such a position. The mantra of a god, it has the form of the god embedded in it, that's it, what to say. That you know, phonetics, the phonetics, the science of phonetics was very, very important in Sanskrit. It was embedded in that language. So the form of the god is embedded in the mantra, as is said. So when you worship with that particular mantra, that particular god is bound to help you. But if you keep on jumping from one to the other, you're just going to create a lot of problem for yourself and maybe up in the heavens also. So, just follow the choice of your own heart, that's much better. Yeah.
You said it doesn't matter whether Babaji was Christian or not. But Babaji too has been accused of being a mythological person. And I'd just like to know, have you met Babaji?
Oh, no. I have not met Babaji, no. I'm not such an evolved soul and all that. Surely not. You could ask me whether I've met Krishna, and that answer probably would be a bit a different answer. And that's what I mean. The mantra of that God is the form is inside that mantra. So if you are worshipping with that one particular mantra, that God will come to you. If you are keeping on worshipping Babaji, he might come to you. That they also follow a certain law and a certain, even in the higher realms, they have these laws. Yeah.
So, you have seen Krishna?
Let's say, I think I have seen him once, but let's say that I experience him all the time. Yeah.
Krishna is always illustrated with blue skin. Is that symbolic, or did he have blue skin?
No, it is symbolic. You see, what is the color of the infinite? When you look up at the sky, you say it's blue. But is the sky really blue? To the eyes it is blue. To your eyes, vision is blue. So the color of the infinite, the sky is infinite, is blue. So that infinite, when it takes on a human form, what color should it have but blue? And it is clothed, he is clothed in yellow. Yellow is the color of the earth. So the infinite has taken on human form, earthly form, blue clothed in yellow.
Well, they do say the color of spirituality is blue.
Color of spirituality is purple. That's why.
Some people say blue, some people say so.
And color of the infinite is blue. Yeah.
Mataji, Paramahansa Yogananda talked about how he came to the West to bring original Christianity and original yoga as taught by Krishna. Why do you think there's this karmic connection between India and America? I mean, you're a great example of this. Here we are in Los Angeles and you're in Rishikesh.
Yeah, there's a karmic bond between everything in this world. We are not isolated. I told you, just as quantum physics has proved this. In the field, that field of all possibilities, everything is connected to that field. Why do you say when you see a flock of birds, they will be flying in one direction, suddenly they take a turn, all of them at the same time, or a shoal of fish. In olden times it was thought that they had some form of radar or something. But now they're beginning to think that they're all related to that field. And that field which empowers them to take the correct direction at the same time. So everything is related, everything has a karmic bond. I would never have met you had there not be a karmic bond between us. We'd not all be here without this bond between us. So definitely there's a bond here. So I think, yeah.
So when Yogananda came to the West, I'm just wondering your personal feeling. He didn't bring, even though he was raised as a Hindu, he didn't really bring in a lot of the Hindu traditions into SRF when he founded SRF. I'm wondering, do you think it was because like the mantras and everything? Do you think it was because people would misunderstand or misinterpret, or do you have a personal feeling of why, or is it a completely different path in itself, or?
No, I think at that time the American public was not ready to receive that type of knowledge. And if you had talked about mantras, they'd have taught you this crazy old, yogi from India. What's he talking about? That superiority complex is so much in the West that they were determined to belittle anything which they did not understand. That's the whole problem. Not that they would belittle. But today they understand, therefore they do not belittle. Today the time is right for them to receive all this. At that time it was not so. So in his infinite, intelligence, he must have realized how he should approach that people of those times.
Mm-hmm.
Where would the seat of God or Krishna be? We think of it, at least as we're taught, it's in the spiritual eye. That's the only place we can really meet God. And
every single atom, every single nerve, every single breath is filled with that and that alone. Don't confine him to some spot or some place. He is limitless. That is a problem with us. We limit God into so many things.
But that's I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of the paradox, is there has to be a focus to start feeling this limitlessness, and so how to get that single point of focus to be limitless.
That focus is given as the third eye or the Ajna Chakra because the mind has its own path in the human body. The mind is constant. During sleep it's supposed to rest in the heart, but during waking times it is somewhere here. So it's easier to control the mind when you concentrate on one of these chakras. Because the mind is the thing which is making it. God has nothing to do with it. It's the mind which creates that entire illusion of So in order to control the mind, you are told to focus on one of the chakras, preferably the heart or the Ajna Chakra.
So if you focused on the heart, how would it be different?
There's no difference really, but some people who are more emotionally inclined may find it easier to focus on the heart. And those who are more intellectually inclined can focus on the... you will understand after which is better for you.
I want to try more of the focus on the heart. I've never done that. I've never heard anyone say that before you. So thank you. How do I go about doing that? Just focus on the energy?
It's a mind again. How can you focus except to the mind?
Okay. So
And the mind focuses on the heart chakra. You want to do a chanting or something now?
Yes. Yeah.
Please do a Krishna chant perhaps. It's a very simple chant called Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Mama means me. Take care of me. I surrender to you. Shri, O Lord Krishna, I surrender to you. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So I will repeat the verse once and you can repeat it. Oh, by the way, before I forget, every day I keep thinking of it. You know the little cards which were given to you? There is a mantra written at the end of it. It's called Vanamali Devi, Shargi, Shanki, Chakri, Chanandagi, Shriman Narayano Vishnu, Vasudevo Bidekshadu. If you look at your cards, you have the cards, it's written at the end. This is a protective armor for everybody. It's a protective, these are the accoutrements of Lord Krishna. And when you say this mantra, you must imagine that his accoutrements are surrounding you like an armor and protecting you from all evil or from all disasters or whatever. So normally all of us chant this at the moment we get into a car or we get into a plane or whenever you're going or getting out of it. Whatever it is, that acts as an armor. It's a very beautiful mantra and you feel a great sense, it's got great power to protect us from all types of negativity. So just check up on your this thing. Vanamali, Gadi, Shargi, Shanki, Chakri, Nandagi, Shriman Narayano Vishnur, Vasudevo Bhidekshadu. I think all of you have got that cards. Those who haven't got it may take it from me today. Okay? So let's go back to our chant. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam. Listen to it once, otherwise you won't know it. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Hari Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bolo Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bolo Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Bolo Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. So let me thank once again Narayanji and Vanamali Devi and all the ones who have been so kind and have invited me to this place, and all of you have attended and been such a wonderful audience. May Lord Krishna, Shiva and all the great deities of our pantheon bless you all with long life, happiness and enlightenment. So we shall end with the peace mantra, the Vedic peace mantra. Okay? And you can all join in when you say Loka Samastad Sukhino Bhavantu. That way, let the whole world be happy. Loka, that was the great mantra of the Vedas. Loka Samastad, let the whole world be happy. And the world did not mean only human beings. The Vedic religion is the one which always insisted on the many verses which they say, let the plants be happy, let the animals be happy, let all creation be happy, everything which is included in let everything be happy. Because only then can the human being be happy. We cannot be happy at the cost of the neglect or the unhappiness of any single thing in this creation. Okay? So, Om Swasti Prajabhyam Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Maheshaha Gobrahmanebhyat Sugamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Vashyadu Varjanyaha Prithvi Shashya Shalini Deshoyam Shobharahitaha Sajjanan Santu Nirphaya Om Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhav Bhavet Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Mritam Gamaya Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnada Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. That's it. Lord bless you all. Now you can all come up and receive some of the special Krishna Prasad.
And since Mataji has been so generous in giving of her spirit to us, why don't we just send her a blessing? She's traveling to Portland tomorrow for a program for about 7 days there. So let's surround her in the light of the Masters and chant Om 3 times. Because it's Krishna night, we've upgraded that prasad. It's a true Indian prasad that Mataji has blessed, so you can come up for some prasad. And I also wanted to pass around our abundance basket. The more we give to life, the more we receive. And any donations are greatly appreciated. So we'll float this one, and if someone could float the other one around in the back.
We have received card and also.
And I just wanted to share as well a few things that are happening at the Love Light Center. This Friday, Clarity is leading a special 3-hour meditation program, Friday night, 6 to 9. Saturday morning, we actually have a meditation on the beach with Scott at 6:30 a.m., so you can see him if you're interested in Santa Monica. And we have a Raja Yoga starting this Saturday with Paul. Myself, I won't be here this Saturday, but Paul and Mai will. And then we have another one starting Tuesday. So just grab, there's these calendars in the back, and they have everything on it. And you can just check out our website as well.
I couldn't make it yesterday and the day before. Is this going to be recorded?
All of these Mataji satsangs have been already recorded, and they're available online. Just go to anandala.tv. So anandala.tv instead of our website.
And that's for Sunday service.
And that's for Sunday service and everything as well. So, thank you.
How are you?
Thank you so much. Have a good time. I was. Yes. Well, here's fun. I remember these guys in each band.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And one is always preferable.
Oh my God, I'm sure you'll love it. Well, there is a radio station. There's you guys that they're building a performance space and everything, and she does a village because I talked to her about it. Like wanting to come visit, so I know I had your card at one time, but I guess Aryan could tell me how to get in touch with you when you're up there, or email or something. Yeah, because you know when you're, I mean, I'll continue the conversation about your recordings, and you know when. They're very involved in the community, and just the fact that you guys are so close to them, I'm sure that they'd be open to all kinds of neat stuff, you know? Yeah. KVMR?
And then Jess would.
It's on the left side of the dial. I'll send you a link.
Jess
doing this with
good. I was looking over there and I didn't think it was like a coleslaw.
I play this TV all the time. Yeah. Oh yeah, I just Even when I'm just working or something, it just fills the room with a good vibe, you know? Yeah, I've been listening to Swami Ananda's readings too on CDs, so yeah, I've been really with all kinds of good vibes. Yeah, thank you. Here's put it in the right
The
spot.
place on Fairfax. Yeah. Is that, did you get it? Isn't that
Yes,
awesome?
please tell them I said hello.
It's just a little adventure. Exactly. There's like they got those. They gave me like these little boxes, like liquid cakes and cake boxes. They just got the tray, but yeah, it was fun for Indian night. I love it how it's all laid out there.
Yes.